entirely fabricated white genocide story in South Africa. Hey, thanks for this question. It's a really good one. And for context, this question arises from my viral video about white South African refugees being welcomed into the United States on the basis of an entirely fabricated white genocide story in South Africa. And before I answer the specific part of your question, I want to ask this question in return. What do you make of the very small number of South Africans that have arrived over the last couple of days in the United States, particularly bearing in mind that there are about 5 to 6 million white South Africans who, if they are as oppressed as the white genocide grifters would like you to believe, you would expect a far higher number than the 23 or so who arrived in the last couple of days. Because if things are so bad in South Africa for white people, and the greatest country on earth gives them a free pass to come in and transfer their lives to the United States, land of the free, home of the brave, you would expect a massive proportion of these poor, oppressed white people to be climbing on a plane as fast as their fat little legs will carry them. And you know why that hasn't happened? Because life in South Africa for white people, in the majority, is fucking good. And very few people are willing to forego their comfortable lives in South Africa for the unknown and difficult transition to being second-class citizens in the United States. The majority of white South Africans live in comfortable suburbia with servants, with nice cars, with swimming pools, with disposable income, with coastal homes, with caravan holidays, and basically a lifestyle most Americans would chop off a limb to enjoy in a beautiful country with a beautiful climate. So what you're getting in these refugee cadres are the disaffected, the economically unpowerful, and, as you undoubtedly know, the racists, the victims, the former oppressors who regard the equality that has been brought in by the transition to a non-apartheid system, who see that equality as oppression. And undoubtedly scattered amongst them are just opportunists who see a way of getting out of South Africa which has not historically existed except for dual citizenship holders of European and other countries. And let me make it clear, I harbor no ill will to those people. They are taking an opportunity that many of us would have jumped at over the years to start a new life in the United States. I have nothing against that decision, to be honest. I honestly also think South Africa is better off without them. So this is kind of a win-win for everybody, which segues round to your question. I think you will find most of these people polite, hardworking, grateful for the opportunity, religiously conservative so that they're on the same wavelength as many Americans. And as good neighbors, you'll be hard-pressed to find better people. That's my honest opinion, because that's true about all South Africans. By and large, if we're going to be generalizing, South Africans are nice people, white, black, colored, Indian, doesn't matter. But there's a downside. They're going to be racist. But of course, in some areas of America, that will help them fit in, let's be honest. You're going to find their conversations limited. They're not on the whole particularly well educated, especially the Afrikaans speakers. And that's not, again, an insult. That's just the system in South Africa from way back in apartheid times. But again, I'd say there's a parallel with the majority of the American education system. It doesn't churn out intellectuals. It doesn't churn out free thinkers or even critical thinkers. And so to that extent, I think that these white South Africans will fit in pretty well in Middle America. I just urge them not to settle on the coasts because, again, as a generality, they ain't going to fit in there. But the way I treat anybody I meet, and what I urge you to do, is to be welcoming, polite, compassionate, empathetic, and wait for them to reveal their true selves, because I may be wrong. They may be good, lovely, balanced people who deserve their place in your society. Treat them as they come. Don't be afraid to call them out on their bullshit, as you would with anyone else. They are on your turf now. They are refugees. They are immigrants. So treat them like you would any other immigrant, which, whilst it may not be true of you as an individual, my observation is that most Americans will treat them really badly because they treat most immigrants really badly. But then of course these are white people, so they'll probably get an easier ride of it than the black, brown, and yellow people that turn up in the United States. I guess what I'm saying at the end of the day is that they deserve their shot, and it's up to them to integrate into American society, which in some parts of the United States is going to be super easy for them. And I hope your government is enlightened enough at least to put them in deep red states, because, and this is my guess, that's where they're going to fit in the most easily. Good luck.
You know, there are documentaries that says that the earth is flat. That doesn't make it true. All right? Genocide means systemic attempt to wipe out a group. That's not happening in South Africa. What we have is a violent crime. Since you want to racialize crime, we can then say, based on the statistics, Black South Africans are the majority of the victims. This white genocide narrative, it's a global white nationalist talking point used to spread fear, not facts. Calling crime genocide because it affects certain racial groups, white people, disrespect real genocides and distort South Africa's truth. If you care about South Africa, start with the facts, not fear. All right?